Good afternoon, everyone. If I could ask you to please take your seats, we will get started here shortly. Thank you for coming to today's State of the University with our President, Gerry Bradley. Following Dr. Bradley's presentation, there will be time for some Q&A from the audience. Just a reminder, this is being recorded. So if you would like to rewatch the presentation, or you know someone who missed the presentation, we will share the link in UofL today. Now, join me in welcoming our President, Dr. Gerry Bradley.
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here today and really appreciate your presence. And I want to thank Dean Krista Boaz-Wallace for her generosity. Where's Dean? Where is she? There she is back there. Thank you so much for your hospitality here. You know, they went to great lengths here to kind of set this up. And, you know, I want to acknowledge the success of our School of Music here. Of course, we all know all that they do around our marching events or sporting events or derby events, but I know they had a number of highlights this past year. I know members of the faculty were in Chicago for the Midwest Band Symphony there, which attracts, I believe, up to 18,000 musicians and recognized nationally. And of course, we had our faculty there being a part of that. And then we had some of our students and faculty members from the jazz group were involved with the symphony here in Louisville. So again, congratulations to all the work that School of Music is doing, and I appreciate their hospitality here today. So, well, thank you so much. You know, I kind of want to talk about the state of the university, and I'm going to pull up the slide here. So we're going to advance it along here. So you can kind of see, I know this is small back there, so, you know, I'll try to talk you through it, but you know, I want to first of all talk about, you know, again, just looking back in 2025 and progress that we've made in some key areas. I want to, you know, again, thank you all in this room and who are listening of the work that all of you have done and played a part in these accomplishments, because these reflect the accomplishments of all of us, not just one or some individuals. Talk a little bit about the current state of how we see things around sort of the financials and current initiatives that we're working on now, and then we will kind of talk about the road ahead. And as you know, we've talked about many of the things that we all face in higher education, the headwinds and so on. Again, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that. You know, they are what they are. You all know them. But I'm just going to talk about how we are working through and navigating them. And I think I'd like to highlight more the opportunities rather than the problems, the opportunities that we have ahead of us and sort of the vision for the future, certainly as I see the university. But I think it's how we see it, because we've just finished a strategic plan that has a kind of a vision laid out. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. And then finally, I just want to give some final appreciation for folks, again, in this slide deck here. So next slide. Okay. Thank you very much. Go to the next slide, Margaret. So, you know, I thought it'd probably be pretty appropriate to sort of talk about our accomplishments under the four pillars that we've all been kind of used to talking about, right? Because these are the pillars of our old strategic plan and our current strategic plan. And, you know, again, learn is no secret that it's the first one. And I think, you know, when you think about why we're here, then it's about our students. It's about our teaching mission and what we do. And I kind of highlighted the language here about transformative teaching, and it says that we ensure students thrive here and beyond. And transformative teaching is actual language that's taken from our mission and vision statement. So all these words are highlighted to kind of show that there's a connection between the very language around the mission and vision that we as a university. Under Discover, we want to do innovative research that will improve the human condition and health outcomes, again, part of our mission and vision statements that we approved, where faculty and staff can thrive personally and professionally, and then engage partnerships with our community engaged partners and how we engage in meaningful partnerships in the city of Louisville, but beyond in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So next slide. So, you know, clearly I wanted to talk about, you know, where we're at with enrollment. And first of all, I want to thank the provost, Katie Cardarelli, and her entire team of folks that, you know, transcends every office practically here and every person, because we all are part of the student experience, whether we, you know, are part of a physical plant or whether we are part of our security, police force. We're all here to support our students. So we want to make sure that, you know, where we're at those key initiatives. And clearly, our enrollment, 25,005, our fall enrollment, the highest ever. Last year, we had 24,123. That was our previous highest ever. Our prior highest was 23,620 back in 1990. So clearly, we are on a momentum. So the asterisk indicates a record. Year 1 to year 2, fall-to-fall retention, 84.1%. Again, a record on our previous record of last year, and it was 2.6% higher than last year. So moving up that retention rate from year 1 to year 1 fall is really key for us as we move towards our goal of 70% graduation. Last year, roughly, we had between the spring and fall semester, 5,157 degrees were awarded. Now, that number has been relatively flat. That's a number we want to see improve over time. And again, if you look at our strategic plan and the metrics around it, our goal is to have 6,000 degrees a year as we see our 4 to 5 year goals. We lead all of Kentucky institutions. We had 9 last year, 180 since 2003. Again, a record for a Kentucky public institution. And of course, the U.S. News and World Report this springtime had us ranked at number 84, which is up 13 spots on the prior year. Again, a record place for us in that survey. So next slide. I just want to call out a couple of things. You could go on forever and ever talking about things, but I thought, I wanted to call out CEHD for the Kentucky Reading Research Center. Again, this is a pivotal state-supported program that's supporting data gathering around literacy in the state, and again, part of the initiatives that we have. Multi-million-dollar grant we secured from the state. The Carnegie Opportunity Designation, this was, again, one designation we earned this year. And I'm particularly proud of that designation because the Opportunity Designation is around the fact that our students are graduating. First of all, they have opportunities for community engagement while they're at the university during their undergrad degree. And then when they graduate, their earning is 1.5 times that of their peers who with them in high school. Again, we'll talk about the numbers of schools that have that, but this is a new Carnegie designation, and I think it really points to the mission of this university and the importance of it. I just want to call out some of the graduate and professional programs, the school over campus in Madisonville. Again, a remote rural campus that we've had. Number 2 out of 40 in the nation. The Brandeis School of Law this year had their highest first-time pass rate of any institution, law school in the state. So we're really proud of the progress that Dean Jacobs is doing and her faculty around the curriculum within the law school. And of course, I can't be remiss about mentioning my old dental school. Bit of favoritism there, but ranked number 20 in Blue Ridge funding, which is funding going for research out of approximately over 75 schools in the country. So again, very proud of the fact that we have professional and graduate schools of distinction along with our undergraduate program, and of course excited about our new HSC building, which is breaking ground in April. So there's a drawing or the work we've been doing on that. Meg Campbell and her team have been working with architects on the design of this. This is just going to be a game changer in downtown Louisville. A $280 million building. I was at the mayor's State of the Union address today. Copying me, he heard I was doing mine. So, again, this is going to be, really something that's going to be very futuristic building. You can see a lot of windows in this building. What you can see is on the back end of it, there's going to be kind of a microforest area, kind of an eating area, and an area that, folks can come. And there's going to be a lot of common meeting areas so that we can, again, a huge need on the HSC campus around spaces to kind of meet with folks and to be able to do interdisciplinary work or have conversations, have students sit and bridge gaps with colleagues. So when we look at the Learn pillar as we go forward, a number of metrics that we're going to be looking at is enrollment growth over the next 4 or 5 years. We're going to be looking at our 6-year retention. We're going to be looking at the number of degrees that we are awarding, and also looking at the number of experiential learning experiences our students have, because it's really important that our students have experiential learning or some type of co-op or internship as part of their learning, because we know that's going to be seeds for them for success in the workplace. It also gives them potentially funds to support them while they're doing their education. This is sort of a graphic of the Carnegie designations, and I guess why do we stand out as a university? And I think it's important that people understand and share this. So if you take the Carnegie R1 research institutions, we are one of a select group of 187 institutions in the country. If you think of the fact that an Opportunity College and also at Carnegie, there are only 21 universities in the nation who have that classification. And then if you put all three of them, which we have this time, there are only 13 institutions like us in the nation. So again, there's no other university in the ACC that has these three designations, and no other university in Kentucky has. So again, I think things to be proud of us, because I think they stand for what we're about. We're standing for high academic programs. We're standing about the opportunity, transforming lives for 38% first-generation Pell-eligible students and their opportunities to make their lives different. And we're talking about our community engagement mission. So I think it's pretty much epitomized in that graphic. Next slide. I want to call out the Discover pillar, and before I do that, I wanted to kind of put your attention on the Bluegrass Biodesign there. This is a student-driven initiative, and it just shows you how smart our students are. I mean, they just drive us every day. And so in 2021, a medical student decided that he wanted to work with students from the School of Engineering, and it kind of grew into the College of Business. And they set up this Bluegrass Biodesign. And what it is, it's about designing, it's about figuring out health outcomes and how to design actions to prove that, to help that health outcome by using engineering and business. And I know, Jeff, is there a student here who's part of that? Probably wasn't going to make it, but this started as sort of just a student meeting other students, and now I believe it's a 9-month program that has been developed. And Dr. Yep, and this is again something that's incorporating our engineering students, our business students, and just shows you the hunger that they have for interdisciplinary work and driving that. So it really is great to see. But on the right-hand side, Carnegie R1 designation, $11.5 million cancer immunotherapy grant we got in 2025. We launched the Traeger Microforest. Of course, we had the opening of the new engineering building, which is a learning and a research building. National claim for ongoing research, helping paralyzed children walk again. And I don't know if any of you saw the article in the Courier Journal about a 3-year-old boy who has spina bifida, who actually started to make his first steps as part of the stimulation work that was highlighted in this article last week. So again, pointing to the really impactful research that we are doing that really is affecting people's lives. Created an Office of Defense Research this year because our defense grants have are increasing more so even than NIH, and so this is something we can talk a little bit about later on in some detail. And then the Kentucky Center for Digital Innovation, again, is now where our cybersecurity and our AI functions will be brought together. So, really excited about these areas. So when we look at our metrics around what we're looking for there going forward, we're going to be looking at research expenditures. We're going to be looking at the number of patents. We're going to be looking at sort of the discoveries that are made as well. So these are, again, part of the strategic plan metrics, and we've set goals. So again, that's all part of the strategic plan. So next slide. So under the work pillar, I just kind of wanted to point about, things that we've done. This fiscal year, we had 2.5% pay allocation, and there was a merit component for faculty. Again, based on feedback from Staff Senate, we decided not to put any merit until we make sure we have a very broad-based systematic evaluation process in place. And so we had fringe benefit allocations, which I'll talk about in a little bit. This year, I commissioned the climate and culture well-being to address issues that were identified in the surveys that we reported out that were actually the surveys were performed in 2022, but we reported out on them in the spring of 25. So they're working hard on that. We want to make sure that we have an increase. I know Cherie Dawson-Edwards, I think I saw here. Cherie, there you are. Brian, is Brian here, not here, working from the staff development side and the faculty development side around increasing opportunities for leadership development, for faculty development, because that's an area, of course, where we need to really move the needle on, is how do we upskill our faculty and our staff with all that's going on in this changing environment, right? So that's something that we are really wanting to see in this work that we're going to do in the strategic plan. We had recently the staff and faculty 5-year celebrations. I don't know, was anybody in the room part of the 5-year celebrations? A couple of hands up. Again, let's have a round of applause for, yeah. I don't know if any of you were there. I know obviously they were, and their supervisors, but what a wonderful event. And some of the speeches that people gave are just amazing testaments to the true bond that people have with this institution that's really moving. I believe we had a 55-year celebrant, 55 years at U of L, just amazing, and there was a number of them in the 45, 40 years, just incredible. And I also want to make sure and I know we have some physical plant here, so can you please rise and be recognized? Anybody from physical plant who's been here? Wow. I really wanted to take this opportunity to really call out those folks, because we've gone through so much snowstorms, right, in the last couple of years. But, this past snowstorm was pretty bad, as we all know, with temperatures dropping. Those folks were out there in below freezing conditions, clearing roads and footpaths so we could come back safely on campus. I mean, it was so cold that their machinery was freezing up, and they had to go back in to warm it up so they could continue to work. So just so grateful for all of your work. So thank you so much. Thank you. Next slide. Great. So, again, some of the things I wanted to highlight about things that we've, put towards, certainly compensation. This year in FY25, I mentioned about the 2.5%. That's about 7.3 million, that first cost of living and general wage increase. And the comp study in total was 14 million that we contributed to it. Last year in FY25, that was $10.5 million for faculty comp. In FY26, we had, again, the 2.5% was FY26, that was 7.6 million. So all in all, we've really made an intentional commitment that once we had done this comp study, and I know everybody feels like, well, they could have done more, we are doing everything we can as we move forward. We are prioritizing compensation to make sure we do not fall behind. I've lived through one compensation study. I never want to live through another one. So we've invested 8.4% increase in salary and wage budgets in the last 2 years. And certainly we're going to continue to try to endeavor to make sure that continues to be supported as part of, again, making sure that we don't create those gaps that we saw before. Next slide. So under the Connect pillar, and again, I want to thank, first of all, I raced through that Discover slide. I want to thank Dr. Klein for his leadership and his team under the Work pillar. I certainly want to thank Sheree Dawson-Edwards, and I want to thank Darrell Clark for his leadership in those areas and their teams as well. Under the Connect, Dr. Douglas Craddock, I saw him somewhere come in there. Where is he? Oh, he's over there. I want to thank him and his team. R1 Community Engaged classification was renewed in December after a 2-year process that involved many of you in that room. Of course, we've got our internationally recognized Grammar Awards, our philanthropy, Jim Brochart and his team, building up and ramping up. Jim's back there. Thank you. So appreciate all the work we're doing there. We just had a recent gift from one of our members of our foundation, David and Linda Anderson, $2.5 million gift. So we really appreciate that. So again, if we look at the Connect pillar, we're going to be looking at philanthropy fundraising. So if you look at our current fundraising, it's around $77 million a year is kind of what our kind of total is, what we're looking for this year. But we see that grow at least to 120, 130 million, no pressure, Jim, in the next couple of years. So we're putting together a team for that, and we certainly are going to be talk a little bit more about what our plans around fundraising in a second. The new Defense Innovation On-Ramp Hub. Now, this again was a very successful effort. Again, I want to compliment Dr. Klein, Nick Peak. Where are you, Nick? Our lobbying team, our EVPRI and his team have been working hard. And when I stepped into the provost's office, we worked together to try to start the process of how we could get some funding from the federal government. And I can tell you that thanks to Senator McConnell, this has been the best year ever from a standpoint of U of L. And we've gotten quite a bit over the years from Senator McConnell's ability to get funds, but I'll go through them in a second. But the on-ramp Defense Innovation Hub is really important because it's connecting Kentucky companies with defense manufacturers and defense industry in DC, so we can create employment here in Kentucky. And so we're working hard on that. I also want to say that we've got many units throughout the Commonwealth. This is not an exhaustive list, but I just threw some down, about how we're connected with the Commonwealth. One of the things I do a lot of my time in Frankfurt is saying we're not an institution that's just here in Louisville. We are across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We are a state institution, and we are here to support the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We got medicine, nursing, dental, CHD. We're all over the place. We're in Owensboro, we're in Paducah, we're in Mountain Comprehensive in Southeast Kentucky. We are, U of L is very, reach is very extensive. We have an active legislative outreach going on right now. Mr. Peake and I are in Frankfurt at least every week at this point in time. The budget session is underway right now, and we are actively lobbying for support in higher ed and for U of L in particular, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. These are things that are important for us if we want to continue to provide the growth and the services that we want. Of course, we have compliance with state and federal laws that we're dealing with, and you all know about all of those. I'm going to talk about the Kentucky Manufacturing Extension Partnership. That may not be something that you all have heard before. If you go to the next slide. So what this is a federal grant program that we've been having since approximately about 2014. But in the last biannual budget session, the state gave us $10.6 million. And of that $10.6 million, about $4.3 million of it is going back each year, so that's about $8.5 million, is going back to small businesses to support in grants to help them in efficiencies with their businesses. And they can incorporate and use faculty from our School of Business, from our School of Engineering around efficiencies and things like that. So this is sort of a heat map of our reach across the Commonwealth. And as you can see, 57% of these grants are actually being awarded outside of Louisville. So it's outside the city. And again, just pointing to the fact that our reach across the Commonwealth is extensive. When we go and visit legislators, we tell them, hey, do you know how many students that have graduated from your area? Do you know how much Pell dollars and grant dollars have come back into your constituency as a result? And it's an eye-opener for them all to see that, U of L's reach is broad. And we are proud of the fact that we, again, are working to support the Commonwealth and the economy of the Commonwealth. Next slide. Got to thank Josh Hurd and his team, of course, for what is going to and is been a tremendous season. Not long after I became president, I had never been to the World Series of baseball, and to go out there was just a thrill of a lifetime to be out there supporting our team out there, and just a fantastic football season again. Jeff Walz, just did an interview with him this morning for my podcast. He celebrated his 500th win at U of L. He's been coach here since 2007. Just an amazing leader, an amazing person, amazing team. And just so proud of the fact that we have a man of his quality, leading our women's basketball team. Pat Kelsey, of course, has done amazing things since here. He had his 300th win and was named ACC Coach of the Year last year, and of course got us back into the NCAA. Women in track field star Sinclair Savage, again, just an incredible person, incredible student. And again, these are our students, right? People forget about these athletes are our students, and just an amazing individual academically, and an amazing individual in the long jump, winning the national title. And of course, in case you don't know it, but essentially, if you take our overall academic standings of our student athletes, we are either number 1 or number 2 in the ACC among that institution. So we've been number 1. I'm not sure where we're at, so that's why I said number 1 2, not sure. Okay. All right. So current state. Let's talk about where we're at. Kind of talking about the budget. Again, all things are related to financial position right now as we look at the year. And so if you look on the left-hand side, from a revenue perspective, and we're looking from this year to last year, same time, we're up about 36 million in revenues. And so what is part of that revenue growth? So you can see it's tuition, housing revenue. We're at maximum occupancy in our housing. The growth that we talked about in the slide, 25,000 25,005 students. And our state funding. We did get increases in state funding. Now, of that 36 million, I will tell you that 29 million of that is tuition and fees. I mean, it's of that number. And that's about $7.8 million more than we actually budgeted for. So we had kind of planned for growth, so we were actually ahead. Now, what we are lower, and I apologize for those way back, you can't see it, but where we're lower is on research funding and some investment income. Part of the lower on the research funding is because of just timing issues, and we moved to work days. So we didn't lose a lot of research funding, even though there were proposed cuts from NIH. It really didn't impact our whole book of business that much. It did impact a little bit, but not a lot. So again, we'll tend to see some rebound on that. But you'll also see on the expenses side, our total expenses are up 31.7 million on last year. And you can see that salaries, benefits, financial aid, and again, part of our enrollment growth is we've increased financial aid to give, and so that's why it's up. But our operating expenses are down unbudgeted. So and part of that is because of the mitigation efforts. So we have been doing things to mitigate escalating costs. And as you all know, we're in a position control process here. And that actually has meant that under salaries and employment, we're actually down on budgeted amounts. And that's keeping us in a net positive area. So the bottom line is our university finances are stable. But of course, they require close monitoring. There is a lot of uncertainties that we have to navigate, and so this is a very delicate process that we watch. So part of the work of the deans and of the administration will be to figure out a budget to present to the Board of Trustees in May. And again, it'll be a process of putting this all together to make sure that we have a balanced budget, because it's all around balancing the budget at the end. Next slide. I kind of show you this slide because it reflects our days cash on hand. So this is a measure of, if we had no revenue coming in, how long would we survive? And people say, well, why would you want to do that? Well, we all knew what happened in COVID, right? This is exactly why days cash in hand is a benchmarking that you have to have. So you can see that, and this is to January 31st of this year, our days cash in hand is down. It's 105 days as opposed to the same time in FY25, it was 121 days. Now, this is a timing issue sometimes because funds come in at different times, but you can see that we have 24.4 more days than December of the prior year. So again, that number is down, creep back up, but where we predict it will end is actually around 101 days. Okay, that's where we predict it will end in the end of June. Now, what is the ideal? Well, last year we ended at 91 days. We actually were worse off. But again, that was a timing issue. We actually were probably more than 101 days if the cash hit the bank before the close of the year. So this is not where we kind of want to be. We want to make sure that we are continuing to keep our cash on hand. If you look at bond agencies, they look at 150 days as being the ideal. So you will see again in our strategic plan that our stretch goal for 5 years is that we build up our days cash in hand to 150 days. So again, a lot of universities are not and having to do other things that we don't have to do, but we've got to be very vigilant and focused on it. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about the success that we've had in the current budget from the federal government that passed only 2 weeks ago. And I can't tell you how nervous we were about those votes that were going on to see whether we would get a budget. So for those of you who are following all that's been going on, we really haven't had a budget in a number of years. It's sort of the Biden budget has been on a continuous resolution. So unless those bills were passed, we would not have gotten new funding. But thanks to the efforts of Senator McConnell, when I say new, we have to apply for this, but it's been awarded in our name, and we have to apply for it. So it's a process we have to go through. But we're actually going to get a new bioscience building, which will be the first building that will go into our innovation park. Research park. It's been called a lot of things. I'm calling it Innovation Park right now. And this is 39 acres that lies behind the Speed School of Engineering. And so this would be, really the beginning of a development that has been long in the making and talked about, but now we actually can see some concrete work towards putting a building in there. The Kentucky Center for Precision Medicine got nearly $30 million as part of this, and then the Regional Biocontainment Lab got So, over $100 million is just really fantastic news for us as an institution. Our budget mitigation efforts are currently underway and will continue as well as we watch things. We're planning for the FY27 budget. The strategic reallocation of resources, one of the things I've told everybody when we're developing the strategic plan is we have to fund it. We have to support it. And so it will mean that we will have to make decisions around resources and how they're applied. And it will mean that we will have to maybe stop doing things that we were doing and allocating them to those priorities. And that's the whole point of having a roadmap as we go forward. So again, this is something that I've asked the deans and the leadership to be thinking about as we develop the budget, as we go forward to support this plan. We've got to continue on our journey that we have set, and we have to support it. And that requires discipline and focus. Legislative outreach, one of the things that I mentioned, that there's the budget is going to be discussed and approved in the legislative, in the Frankfurt between the Senate and the House and signed by the governor. Right now, there's a proposal to cut higher education by approximately 7%, okay? We were not expecting that. We were expecting this year to actually be a year where we would get actually additional funding. We had submitted a lot of budget requests that reflect that. My colleagues in the Council of Post-Secondary Education and my colleague presidents. So we are really advocating for why they need to reverse that. This is just a beginning budget from the House. The Senate have yet to drop their budget. Here that's also going to be lean, but then there's going to be a period of the conference between the House and the Senate, and that's when things may be added in there. So as you can imagine, this is an important time to be advocating for UofL with our advocates in Frankfurt. So we'll be spending a lot of time making cases for, just like the Kentucky Manufacturing Extension Program, how it's important to the Commonwealth of Kentucky to support initiatives like these, and we will continue to try to make that case. And then mitigating the impacts of NIL. We all know what's going on there on the athletic budget. So again, Josh Hurd and I and the financial team, they're working hard. Again, crazy landscape right now is, again, mitigating what's going on around that. So next slide. So the road ahead, next slide. So, I'm just so excited about the fact that we have this strategic plan. As I mentioned, this is kind of shaping, what I think is a roadmap. It's not my strategic plan, it's our strategic plan. We all had a part in it. We received a lot of input over the period of time of nearly 13, 14 months in the building of this plan. And I think it provides, next slide, if we talk about sort of those mission and vision things, when I think about educate and serve, advancing knowledge, improving vision things. When I think about educate and serve, advancing knowledge, improving quality of life, and you can see the language transform out the work we're doing and the vision. And I can tell you that, we want to continue to live to those mission and vision value statements. And I will tell you that, the role of me and my administrative team is to protect and advance that mission and vision. And that's what we're going to concentrate on as we go forward and as we navigate the things ahead. Next slide. So what are we doing, in FY27? We got to fund initiatives in the strategic plan. We got to, encourage and incubate new academic programs. It's all about raising, the offerings that we can provide students. Students want choices, and they need choices that fit in with a need. And so we're working to do that. We're certainly going to be working to advocate. We want to minimize the impact of any of the mitigation efforts we're doing in our community, because of course, when we're not doing something, we're hurting somebody else. These are hard choices, and certainly, our goal is to minimize those and to make those decisions, again, based around what's best for our entire campus, for our entire community, based on our mission and vision. Support and continue our student success initiatives. Critical that we continue our work around student success. We're not where we need to be in our retention rates. We've got got to move more on our student success initiatives. We know students are coming in less prepared than they were, and that trend is going to continue. It's not going to get better. And how do we, continue to do the right things for those students to keep them on their journey? And my, again, vow to you is to team accountable for the outcomes of the strategic plan. We've set those goals, we've set those metrics, they're there for us to be evaluated on, and I certainly will hold myself. So next slide. So when we look at the long view, climate and culture, we got to be looking at a thriving and growing campus. There's a lot of universities right now that are really struggling. I heard, Kentucky did well in the fall. Actually, a number of institutions reported higher enrollment in the fall, but I actually heard that a lot of universities in Kentucky are not doing well in their spring enrollment. And that was just in conversations that I had with some of the presidents. We need to continue to bring students here to U of L. And this is, a campus. We got a lot to offer. And so we need to make that value proposition to students, not only here in Kentucky, but and beyond. I think, when we think of academic excellence and prestige, I mentioned that, at my inauguration, I want us to be as good academically as we are athletics in the ACC. We've got to continue to raise the profile, because I think we just don't tell our story well, and I think we need to do a better job of doing that, and we also need to show it as well in some of the work we're doing. So changing health outcomes and quality of life in Kentucky, our U of L Health, we are, between us and our sister institution, UK up the road, we provide all of the safety net for Medicaid patients in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We are making impacts in communities that wouldn't have access to health care. This health care is critical for all of us, not just on Medicaid, because this is what trains physicians and doctors. We won't have providers, whether you're on Medicaid or you're on commercial insurance. So it's really important that we work and continue to stay true to the values of making a difference in health outcomes. 6-year graduation rate above 70%. We are actually going to fall below 60% this year when we get our data in retention, and it's because of COVID. The 6-year retention is the period of 6 years, so the 2020 class was the most impacted by COVID, and so we're actually going to drop down to 57%. We predict in our modeling we'll go back up to 60% next year, and then we'll go back to 63%, and then we march on to 70% after that. So you can see we've modeled this out, and we have, we know where we're going, and we have a plan to try to get there to help our students do it. So it's a road ahead. Long-term view, new residence halls, academic and research buildings. We have a request in for a $142 million STEM H building that would go right across the road next to the engineering building. That's our capital request. And, down the road, I would love to see us. We're going to build a new dorms. That's absolutely going to happen because we have to, because of our expansion. I would love to see us have, for example, an honors college. We have, as an ACC institution and an R1, we need to have an honors college at some point. There's a lot of work involved in that. That's going to be a long way down the line, but we've got to start to put things in place. Part of that is a comprehensive campaign. We're going to begin a comprehensive campaign, again, our fundraising, because that's critical for us as we look at levers of revenue that can come in. So the expectation on me and my leadership team will be to do more of that as time goes on, and we're going to be building up our fundraising team to support that. I talked about the Innovation Park. There's discussion around another building going in there right now as well. So again, we're going to be working to try to develop that out. We have a contracted with an external consultant firm to develop and design that park and how it would look, and as I mentioned, around the building. And again, the foundation are here to support us. Intentionally developing our people, I mentioned that, and then accountability to our values. I'm so proud that we were able to get those cardinal principles again renewed, because I think a lot of us all resonated with many of those qualities, and I think they are things that we can hold true to. So, and then next slide. Okay, so just finally, before I get to the appreciation, I just want to say that, I am really optimistic of our future. I think we are on the road. We've got a lot of momentum going on. I think it's going to require us to be disciplined and to have a laser focus on those outcomes that we want. So I'm really say the State of the Union is strong. The state of the university is strong. Thank you. I appreciate that laugh. My best stuff, I got one laugh. The second thing I'll say is that it's just been an honor and a privilege to be your president. And I hope and I strive every day to live up to that honor to be your president. I serve at your pleasure, and I appreciate the Board of Trustees. So finally, appreciation. I just want to thank you, campus community. I want to thank the faculty and staff representatives and student representative bodies. They have been just such a collaborative, shared governance model that we have used over the period of time. I want to thank, of course, the Cabinet, the Executive Leadership Team, CEO, the Commission on Climate, Culture and Wellbeing, of course, the Board of Trustees and the Board Chair, Larry Benz, alumni and donors, legislative friends and advocates in both in the Chamber, but also our city. We've got a wonderful mayor, we've got a supportive mayor and town and city leadership in the elected officials, and they're all very supportive of it. And of course, I appreciate our colleagues in higher ed. We are working together on issues around higher education. So I'm going to hand it over to Amber.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bradley. We will now move into the Q&A session. We want to make sure that as many people as possible have the chance to ask a question. If you have a question about Dr. Bradley's presentation today, please make your way to one of our mic runners who are on each aisle, one at a time. Questions will be limited to one per person. Please keep your question brief and to the point. And at the conclusion, please join us for some refreshments in the lobby. Refreshments in the lobby. Any questions?
Wow. Put them all to sleep.
Okay, last chance.
Going once, going twice.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming out today.
Thank you so
and thank you
much.
again, Dr. Bradley.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.